Hi, everybody. Good? Good. Welcome back. This is officially the start of Season 4 of Kingmaker. Officially. Now, everything before this was, of course, the preseason, because we needed to catch things up to the timeline.
The spoils of war, as it's affectionately referred to by the fandom.
Actually, they say the kingdom rolls taking 45 minutes to decide whether or not you want to use a luck die in each roll. Just shut up, I'll give you another luck die as you roll that one anyways.
To be fair, if they just spent a trump card's worth of luck die on us, then maybe we wouldn't take this now. Anno.
What about Anno? Anno's a great guy. Leave
He dropped a trump.
Hurry up, someone drop a TC. Ah, Josh. Josh, watch out who you inspire. He thinks he's safe because he's not playing this week. They'll hold them for you. They are that mean. All right, so anyways, moving on.
He is a gnome.
We need to go approach something to the south, but more importantly, back home, after everything has just settled, after all the time that's just passed, has anything changed about your characters? Minor details. One, maybe Rayrin started growing a little bit of stubble, or maybe he keeps it clean. Two,
He's back to clean shaven now.
Grishka, has he announced his name to anybody other than Rayrin? If not, is it known to Rayrin that he's meant to be referred to only as one publicly, and that's a private thing, or what?
He hasn't said it to anyone. He hasn't told anyone to call him that, whatever else. Raymond, would probably, see when he was addressed as one, he didn't correct them or anything. So that'd be his decision whether or not he started calling me something else.
Oh, you put it in Neil's hands? Fuck. All right,
well,
guys.
He would get
You ready for 30 minutes of RP where I decide, boys? Woo! Look at this kid taking.
Honestly, we waste more time memeing about how much time we waste now. All right, so anyways, continuing. So you.
The truest statement has never been said.
Yeah.
I love the memes though. We have good fun.
Just so you know, Jake, if you do cut the hair, you probably lose the ladies. Just saying. Just saying. I'm not trying to sway your opinion because I'm not those ladies. I'm just saying. They dig it.
Do you want to be one of those ladies?
Come to America, please.
Lockdown.
So come from a land down under. So you so nothing like that. Cool. You clean shaven. You don't say anything. You keep it to yourself. Cool. At one point in time, you guys actually have an interesting person enters into your kingdom. Somebody that very much does not approach you, does not try to speak to you guys or anything like that, but it does catch your attention. Specifically the person whose attention it would catch, because it is literally their job to know these things, is Ravina. And Ravina would eventually kind of come to, we'll say both of you, maybe the end of during a council meeting, whatever it is, saying, I've chosen. So it's come to my attention, somebody that's recently taken residence in our home arrived here recently, but came from the west. Apparently they spent some time in Leshev prior to their arrival. An interesting gentleman. Honestly, he's not that noteworthy, aside from the fact that he came with many birds. He actually came in a wagon with many caged birds, mostly pigeons.
Wasn't a raven with teeth in there with him, was there?
No ravens of the like, no. The only one I've seen around with a raven is you. Do you have an affinity towards them?
Yes, I suppose so. Are supposed to be wise birds after all.
Anyways, I did a little bit of digging into this gentleman, and I don't know exactly where it is that he came from because, well, I don't know anybody that knows him. But he has had conversations with people around town that have inquired subtly, and some done so, about his pets. And apparently, they're more than just pets for him. He used to use these birds, or maybe still intends to, as a means of passing messages across long distances. I just thought it might be something that you'd raise an eyebrow at.
Yeah, well, I mean, who's the messaging?
Nobody currently. Once I found that out, I had people. I mean, we can't exactly stare at the skies at all points in time, but we've been looking just to see if we've noticed any parcels, tethered to the leg of some pigeon of the like. Nothing has come or gone, and he's seen feeding his pets or letting them out occasionally for the larger ones to hunt, but no messages delivered here and there.
One would presume he's a postmaster of sorts then. It would seem rather foolish for a spy to come into town with an entire wagon of their accoutrements.
The wagon that he has, it's pretty obvious that that wagon was one that was purchased over in Leshev. You can actually see the markings on the side of the wagon of the estates that craft such things. So I don't believe he came from Leshev because there's no reputation of him there. And I haven't been able to reach out far enough to see where he came from prior to Leshev. I'm trying to do so now. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it.
You piqued my interest.
I didn't know if maybe you wanted to extend an invite to have a conversation with him sometime in the near future.
Where is it that he and his wagon reside at the moment?
He's been staying at the local inn, because you guys actually have an inn in Cursefall, yes?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Iron Oak Inn. Was it?
No, you guys don't have it in here.
We do.
I don't see one.
I'm sure we did. We named it.
We have a tavern.
Yeah, we have a tavern.
I don't see a tavern here either.
Neither do I, but we definitely do, because there was discussion of the name.
Yeah, there was even
Chap.
a... Yeah,
Chap, back
you
me
did.
up.
No. Legit, you did have an inn. Because it literally says inn right here on your sheet below.
Yeah, we 100% did.
Yeah, did it get deleted?
I don't know.
Oh, that's weird. Just check and see what we're talking
Scott's
about.
cucking us, boys. I bet it was next to the house and tenement.
It probably has to. It probably has to because it's probably mandated to be next to a house or the like.
Yeah,
So,
it has to be next to a house. I remember that much. But
yeah, give me 1 second. I'm gonna find out the rules.
do you guys remember that we have an inn?
No, that makes that makes sense. It's funny because I thought so. That's why I said inn, and then I was like, wait, why is it not on the map? That's why I got confused. Adjacent to a house. Where do you want it to be? Joey
I
Bird
presume south of the house in the South District.
So down here. Gotcha.
I mean, I guess you guys.
And what did you name it, sir?
I would agree.
It was the Iron Oak Inn, I thought, in reference to the irony rooty boy, whose roots metal is now gone.
Yeah, most of it got used to make that axe. There's a small amount left. That she kept for herself. So, yep, cool. So Iron Oak Inn is there. So you do, in fact, have an inn. So he's staying at the inn, and his his wagon is outside of it. The innkeeper doesn't seem to mind. He has the coin to pay. Not that he's the kind to just be throwing coin about town.
Perhaps it would be better to have a casual chat with him over a drink rather than invite him up to the castle.
Whatever it is that you feel necessary, I just thought he might catch your attention.
Indeed. Rain would thank her, saying thanks, dismiss, whatever.
And that's not one of those things you even have to address right now. You could say there's more pressing matters and you can handle other stuff.
I might go deal with it, say, in the evening.
Okay.
Go out for a drink and go and deal with it then.
By now, I meant today versus we'll handle it this month, in a couple weeks or so. So it's up to you. You guys can handle it immediately, or we can handle other things.
It would be nice to handle something a bit more lighthearted than zombie hordes, murders, undead creatures, gods. Maybe just talk to a man who likes birds in a pub.
Sure. Or a man that is known as the hero of Herod. I
mean, maybe we could speak to a man known as the hero of Herod first, if that was an available option.
It is. It's been an available option since before the Kingdom Roll.
Okay. Well, why don't you stop paying your radius, essentially?
Oh,
you
God,
big bearded man.
So warm.
Stop!
He's warm.
You have a problem.
So this is kind of a speech. I think it does. So you and then lastly, so that's the last thing I need to say right now. So there's just important things I have to make sure I mention them, otherwise they don't get mentioned and they can't be addressed. That was one of them. So you guys can go and chat with him now. It could be like, we'll handle that, but first we need to go and handle something to the south. It's up to you.
Yeah, we'll deal with that later then.
Sure. Okay. So as the hero of Herod, how did you want to approach that whole situation?
We need to go and murder the captain of the guard down there, right?
I think so, yeah.
We have him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we have him.
You need to go
we
murder
have
the
him.
captain of the guard down in Herod?
He was brought up, of course he was.
Yes.
Should we deal with that now, Jake?
By the
All
free
the
folk.
not
actually-
Herod.
By the free folk, yeah.
Let's not deal with that now.
We'll
Let's
deal
let him
with
suffer
that
in the
after-
let's let him suffer in the dungeon a bit more. So do you think we could just get the hero of Herod to come and deal with all the zombies around Rid? Just be like, hey, we hear you cleared the city. Come and clear this town, and we'll give you 10 gold. You common scum.
That actually could, oh wow. That could actually be a legitimate way of handling the situation, which is to go and speak to this hero and be like, we hear that you're an awesome person. Can you help me out?
Hire him as a merc, yeah.
Oh my god, we forgot something. We forgot to roll for Elliot last Kingdom roll. I'm so sorry, Tesh. 1 second. Because if this doesn't get done now...
I'm almost finished doing what you told me to set up, so
Cool.
that's perfect. I was like, give me a little bit longer.
I'm going to have Neil roll this. Elliot also has a +9. So we're going to have Elliot go there, and he's going to roll a 1d20 +9.
I got you, boy. Let's go, Elliot!
Jesus Christ! Oh my
Have you
god!
3 nat 20s this session?
Mm-hmm. My luck is back, baby, and it feels so fine. And all it took was eating Tesh's soul, Baron's soul.
All right, do you want to luck die to make it a 30?
Yes.
Yeah.
31. Oh god. Jesus, that's crazy. Okay. Elliot goes down there, and when he came back, this is, of course, right before the Birdman conversation or whatever, Elliot would actually be at the same council meeting and would give you counsel. He'd be like, Chosen, I actually return with a light heart, a smile on my face for the encounter that I had finding the goblinkin that we came across. So, I don't know I don't have a terribly great wealth of knowledge when it comes to goblins. They're not something that we generally encounter all over. Their population is not very dense. But one thing is generally known about goblins. They are very dense. As a matter of fact, goblins are rumored to not even be able to speak. Apparently, these goblins do. They actually speak Glyn, and they speak it pretty well. It's a point of pride for them. They see themselves as being better than many of the other goblinkin who are lesser, dumber, more bestial. More than just being a more intelligent a member of their own breed, their tribe is actually one that is relatively peaceful. They aren't, they're not native to Idir. They actually aren't from here at all. They actually came from, they said they came from lands to the west. Now, if I had to guess, maybe they came from Jovencia and had moved out of there since, because they say they came across the mountains to get here. Now, apparently they've been traveling through those mountains over the course of the past year or so. They actually recently got here because of the recent appearance of horrifying things to the west. So they moved out of the mountains where they were kind of hiding across the plains, and then once they came through the river, they were happy to find this comfortable place that they found themselves. They're friendly. As a matter of fact, their chieftain was extremely friendly with me and took me in as a guest. Showed me all of their delights. I must say, I didn't enjoy any of them, but I did enjoy the mind and the heart of them. I dare say that if we approach the situation correctly, perhaps with given time, if you can approach the situation directly, we might be able to open up a degree of understanding between our people and theirs. I don't fully understand them or their culture. they seem to be proud, but also, I don't want to be out of turn in suggesting this as to not insult them, but it seems like they're almost jealous of the lifestyle that we lead. Stationary, protected by homes and walls and a more unified front, people inside direct positions. It seems like the wandering life is something that they've grown accustomed to for however many generations, but aren't fans of.
Interesting, Elliot. You've done very well. I have to say, the possibility of some form of relations with these goblinoids is intriguing. Perhaps I think it would be worth pursuing further. Idir is, after all, for everyone.
That's exactly what my mindset was when I went there. Trying to be open-minded of what their culture might be. I would request that if and when you do meet with them, that you have me by your side. I was able to learn their dialect relatively quickly, so I could act as a comfortable translator, but also to act as a bit of a guide in the way that you approach them. They see themselves again as being better than other goblin kin, and so they wouldn't want to be compared to them. They would see it as an insult.
It would appear that they are forcing us not to compare them to other goblin kin by their apparent sensibilities.
You can see that his response to that is he appreciates the sentiment behind what you said, and that's more or less what he has to report about it. But he does specifically say that the chieftain awaits a meeting with you when you have time, and it was not a pressing matter. He understands, obviously, with the situation that's going on right now, that you're the chieftain, or chieftains, as I tried to describe to them, which was a kind of a lost concept, but they accepted it, of our lands, had their hands full in trying to eliminate this plague that we have going on. They are choosing not to handle it directly. They're choosing to try to avoid it where they can, but will fight back against the Walking Dead where it is they must. Unfortunately, they're small in size and strength, and these beasts aren't ones that fall by well-placed shots, same as anything that they would have encountered in their past. They're at a disadvantage fighting the undead.
Interesting.
Kicking in on this situation, what's his name there? Not what's his name. What's her name? Ravina would chime in and say, if they're at a disadvantage, if I may, Chosen, a disadvantage is a wonderful opportunity. By offering them any degree of kindness or protection, assuming, of course, we can spare the people to do so, it would put them to a degree in our pocket. It would give us a little bit of leverage when we do finally have that meeting. You can see Elliot, his face kind of drops. He does not look directly at her or at anybody else, but he doesn't appreciate the sentiment of what it is that she's saying. She's like, we could provide them protection, maybe not necessarily in our walls, but a place that we could look after a little bit better, perhaps near Rid, or at least offer some guard. Let them know that we've got their back, and let them know that maybe they owe us for it.
There is certainly a possibility of extending our troops further to defend these people. However, we are stretched thin as it is. I would be happy to offer them support, but the offering of support, should it not be adequately provided, would only serve to show us as weak.
I, of course, will always defer to the Chosen for the final decision made. But if you do choose to move ahead with this plan, I have a few guards in mind that might be able to glean more information while they're there.
I think it's worth keeping under consideration, but given that currently we're not even able to hold forts against these creatures, the idea of defending a horde of nomads would be rather difficult.
Kithel clears his throat at that. Can't even hold forts. Throwing shade.
No, I'm not throwing shade at my boy.
Beautiful. All right, let's and that's kind of like shores up that you have the conversation with her. She's like moving on to other matters, and she would give you the other information and so on. And then you guys can kind of flash forward to, and now our attention to the south. I think it's high time that we've met this hero of Herod and see how much coin it would cost to get them to get him to come and lend aid to us. Neil, oh, let's make Teshmate longer while I segue while you show us your. We'll use the word kitty. Speaking of my wife, want to know what's been annoying my poor wife lately? She's literally coming here and delivering me breakfast because she's amazing.
You're still using that.
That's okay. She dropped a fork. You're still using that. Want to know what's been annoying my poor wife lately? Thank you, sweetheart. Appreciate the French toast.
Is it you?
Again.
Waffles.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Wow.
Me and Scott's wife are so similar.
I actually have been at the tail end of this really big mug, so I'm very coffeed at the moment. I actually brought water down with me. I'm a good boy today. Yeah, I love you too. Sorry.
Good boy today.
So, my what's been annoying my poor wife is that the cat has taken to in the middle of the night. Usually, I'm awake ridiculously late on my phone in bed. Has taken to hopping up on the bed and cuddling like right here, like next to my neck and shoulder and whatnot, and so loud on the bed that it like wakes up my wife and it makes her so angry because it'll wake her up like 5 or 6 times in the middle of the night, and in the morning she's like, "Can we kill the cat now?" Because it purrs so loud. Of course, when I pass out, I'm like a rock, so it doesn't affect me. So.
Okay.
That pairing's good for you.
Her purring's good for me.
People, yeah, makes people happy when they hear cat purring.
No, it does not make my wife happy. It makes her quite angry.
Yeah, but like you make her quite angry, yet also happy.
I'm just saying, if the cat didn't keep her up all night long purring, maybe she would have got me a new fork.
You're the embodiment of a cat purr in human form,
Oh, I make her happy?
but also very angry. And keep her up at night.
Let's not. Okay, let's just.
All right. Anyways, moving on. What is your approach, boys? How are you heading south?
Our approach to what? Sorry,
The south.
that French toast of yours, that waffle.
Yeah. I said no French toast. Damn, waffle.
I can't
It'd
believe
be
you got that
safest
wrong.
to set out from Hodgwen.
This is true. This is true.
What did you say?
Actually, no. Possibly it would require opening the gates of Hardglen.
The river. Travel along it.
Take a little skiff. Yeah, that's good. That is a good plan right there. Disembodied voice of Val.
The
wanna go
easiest way
to-
to take a skip is actually probably to go to Leshev and then through
Leshev,
Forvin. It also gives you an opportunity to kind of like look and see what condition these other places are in.
Hear that, Tesh? You just weren't allowed to have it. Okay? Some rubbish. Yeah, okay. Let's go to the Chev, take a skiff down to Forvin then. I think I kind of want to see what Forvin's like because I've never been there.
Forvin? You've never been to... Oh, you've never been to Forvin, have you? Okay. So you guys would go travel with the army along the road to Leshev. Leshev actually has been busy. So, hold on. Oh, it took 3 months for them to finish that bridge. And now that they finished the bridge, next Kingdom roll, they're actually going to finish this... No, sorry. It took them 2 months to finish the bridge. And now in the 3rd month, they were actually making this wall right here. I'm saying wall. I am so sorry. They are making this road right here, which I want to do a flip horizontal. Which apparently it's not allowing me to just flip. Okay. I'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Flip around like this. And like this. And do one of those. Oh no, I'm just dumb. Sorry, don't mind me. There, that's what needed to happen. So they can hit up that spot right there. Make you map layer, and then I have to go to the map layer. Sorry, everybody, and bring you to the front. Bam, cool. All right, so you guys are gonna go to Leshev and go kind of check out the situation there. Leshev is holding because I don't know if you remember or not. They were originally trying to raise an army in case things are gonna go sideways.
Sorry, I've got a phone call from the hospital.
They were originally going to raise an army in case things went sideways during the war. They continued to raise that army, so they have a bit of a population there. But on top of that, you also have Raven's Riders on lesser horses, but nonetheless, Raven's Riders are still over in that area, kind of keeping the population of the Zambies down. The Riders, for the most part, are actually found over in the plains, just kind of like over in this greater area. Seriously, over here, kind of like moving about. You can imagine they're not going everywhere down here. They're kind of just staying within so many hexes of Leshev to keep that the population of Zambies kind of down for their own safety. You know what I mean? So they're kind of like going around this area and just trying to make sure that not too many of them well up. Funny enough, they can actually report back that the number of plains cats that happen to be out there has not reduced. These zombies don't seem to have an effect on the plains cats, and the plains cats kind of ignore the zombies. So that just makes for a different problem out there. Yay! The cats themselves, because the amount of food that they would usually have accessible is what's what I'm looking for. The amount of food that they would usually have accessible is a little bit lower than usual. They've become a bit more aggressive than they usually are. So again, yay! But you don't have to deal with it because you, of course, going into the river at Leshev and heading down to Forvin. When you head down to Forvin, just to describe it, because you guys have never been here before. Jake, you've never been here before either?
No.
It's never been visited on stream before?
No, we've sent people there, and that's it.
Yeah, Elliot was there and got kidnapped. And
Sorry.
we were gonna take the army there, but we never did.
I've had multiple Patreon sessions there, so that's why I'm a little confused. So Forvin is actually an interesting place because, well, actually, never mind. I take that back. Forvin has changed considerably, actually significantly for the worse. So one of the things that was always known about Forvin, from reputation that you've heard in the past, Forvin was very well guarded. They had, for the size of town that it was a much greater guard there than you might expect. The commander, the actual captain of the guard there, was a retired adventurer who was a very capable individual person, and he did not want to mess around. He didn't want to play with stupid, oh no, some stupid other adventurer came into town and caused problems, that kind of a thing. So he kept a lot of guards. He kept the guards very happy. He kept a very friendly face, and he kept it very forward. So all the people of the town knew him by first name and were friendly with him, except for maybe a couple of people that were problem causers, like problem peoples, but he handled them relatively quickly and assertively anyways. The town was rather safe. And they actually had guards that didn't just guard the town itself. There's no walls, but they actually guarded well outside of the town too. They actually marched around like you would imagine like a city would have people to do. It made the place a very, very comfortable place. When the zombie situation began, you can imagine that he would have called to arms all of his guards. He would have had them stand firm against them. Maybe even called some of his old adventuring buddies to come back and lend aid to fight back against the horde and keep these the people of Forvin safe. The people of Forvin are a merchant town. Predominantly, they're fishers. They're actually very aggressive fishing community. They're very aggressive with one another, and they have a lot of disputes with one another. He kind of has to handle a lot of those disputes for them. It's like one of his primary things that he does is like, come on, let it boil over, But the zombie thing happens days after he was, we'll say, removed from his position. He wasn't able to call the people to arms. As a matter of fact, they were in a bit of disarray, knowing that their leader was gone and not knowing how to necessarily lead themselves because he did so well for so long that they just never had a line of ascension or secession or whatever you want to call it. Never had a line of secession. They never really had to, because he just did so well for so long. They all got comfortable. The place was so safe for so long. They all got comfortable. Certainly no calling to old buddies because they're all comfortable. And then the zombies hit. The people weren't ready for it. Sure, they're aggressive people, if you got to know their personalities. They're aggressive people, but they weren't warriors. They're like lip service aggressive. You know, a typical Bostonian. They're not really going to do anything. They're just going to talk a bunch of shit. So you go there to check out this place, and you can see that this town, whose population was pretty decent, was hit hard. And I mean really hard. Riding just on your skiff through town, you can see more than half of the town has been destroyed. Not like burnt to the ground sort of thing. There are, of course, burnt buildings from things that have gone awry. But more than half the town has been destroyed. Windows completely smashed. Doors that would have been boarded up and smashed through. Still literally bodies lying in the street. Like actual bodies still lying in the street because nobody ever went and collected them to bring them to somewhere to be buried or whatever because they just are too distracted. You can actually literally see zombies shuffling around the town as you go by it. Maybe one of you takes off a puck shot here or there at a zombie for, got one, or just, oh my god, that person needs help. Unfortunately, there are too many zombies here for the two of you and whatever small amount of guards that are left to handle the situation right now. If you were to get off the boat and try to handle this personally, you could easily spend weeks here, just intelligently trying not to get pinned down, fighting through them. There's a lot. That's not to say there aren't people either. There are people, but most of them must have taken a cue from one of their neighbors, because most of them, unfortunately, aren't on land. So you can see the people on land. You can see areas where there's stronger buildings are boarded up, like very well boarded up down below. And up top, you can see small groups of people kind of like taking shots down or dropping stuff down on zombies down below. Who knows how many are actually inside the building. You can see that from as a skiff passing by, like several buildings in or whatever, well past the warehouse district, of course, because warehouses don't really have roofs you stand on like that. You see some people are on land, of course, but most of them are doing the best they can to survive on boats, on fish. Luckily, there's a lot of fish here. Fish isn't the most nutritious thing, and you certainly can't be too picky about what part of the fish you eat, unless you die of malnutrition or get scurvy from malnutrition or whatever. But yeah, Forvin has fallen. And if you thought Hod Gwen was in a rough spot after the war, Hod Gwen is a beacon of strength right now. This place is, the population, if you had to guess, was maybe 2,000. It's just throwing a guess out there. It's probably closer to, say, 300. Of course, not everybody stayed. Others left and whatnot as well. Forvin is devastated. If only they still had their captain, they may have had a chance. But by removing their leadership, their guard, their central, government, they crumbled. Your trek across the lake is not an easy one either. People calling out to you, because you clearly are not from around here. You clearly are people from either Leshev or Paradel or wherever, calling out, if you have goods, can you spare some food? Things like that. Luckily, this water here is fresh water. It's not salt water, so they can drink it. But they still, any vegetables. I don't care if they're half rotten. Carrots, for Christ's sakes. People calling out for anything that you might be able to have. But you're literally just looking at boats full of graves. They just don't realize it yet. It's a pretty rough spot for them. Pretty rough indeed. Fortunately for you, somebody appears. It's actually funny enough because we'll say that it's nighttime and Rayron needs his beauty sleep, and he's also not here. Because it's nighttime, it's actually specifically you, Jake, that happens. It's nighttime, the boat's drifting, you have a lot on your mind. You know, obviously, you're sitting here thinking to yourself, I'm glad this man got this. But from what I understand, oh shit. And you're kind of like looking off the edge of the boat, thinking of the devastation that the undead have done here. It's weighing heavily on you because of your background. You would actually notice, you wouldn't notice any darkening or anything like that because it's already dark out. But you would see somebody kind of like rest their arms on the edge of the skiff next to you, same as you're doing. There we go. Same as you're doing. And kind of like just even tossing a quick little side glance, you'd actually see specifically it's Nankaro or Momeg that's leaning against the boat next to you.
Moment.
Damn.
It's good to see you.
He just nods and looks out. I imagine.
Look out.
Yeah, I imagine you don't say anything after that. You allow minutes to pass even. The two of you just kind of standing there and looking out at the number of boats that are out there. Just with little torches or candles, or some of them well run out of those materials and in darkness across the lake. Just trying to be careful to make sure that you don't, run us under. There's other ships that are out in the lake with a little skiff. So you are going across there, and after like maybe 15 minutes or so pass of silence, he says, "It's a travesty, isn't it?"
He just nods, but he's not going to say anything.
You might be able to offer them a degree of hope.
In what way?
It's been having a bit of a glitch as details were worked out between the two of us. But we've come to an understanding. Something wakes Rayron up from his sleep on the skiff. You're going to have to get your fill-in of what happened afterwards. But something wakes Rayron up from his sleep afterwards. He feels a familiar presence, a strong one. When he makes his way to the upper deck of the skiff, he actually sees Momeg, or what's his name? Nankaro, leaning against the edge of the skiff, having a conversation with Jake here, with one, Grishka. So he says, while we came to an agreement, one has been made, and so you will be able to reach into the chest again. It's a bit different now than it was before.
In what way?
It's hard to explain, but the easy way to explain it to you is when you reach in, you will always find something beneficial to you. You just won't necessarily know what it is until you pull it out. There's a bit of a limitation to how it works. It's a part of the agreement. You can reach in as often as you'd like, but the more greedy you are, let's just say it might reach back.
That's why I like my swords with a single edge. Place a hand on the hilt.
You hear him say as he approaches from behind. Obviously, Momeg doesn't respond at all. He heard you or perceived you coming long before that. Potentially, he was the one that woke you intentionally.
Miriam would rather than he'd just nod at the two.
I come bringing this news because perhaps while you're here, you can belay your intention of heading to the south in a moment, for a moment, and you can actually reach into the box and see what you can pull. See what aid you can provide to them.
I'll take it out.
You go to take it out, and before it's one of those things you can take out the chest thing, but you don't necessarily need to do it yet. You know, like he's saying, while you're here, you're obviously going to be here for longer than just this conversation. He also says, I'm also here for one more reason. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but a few weeks ago, my protections, they lapsed. They came to an ending.
Ah, that would explain why the entire land has gone to shit.
That was a few months ago. And we already know why.
So, yep. It's a joke.
Nobody laughs. He tosses side eye at a sailor and he's like, that's right, I feel important.
That's a great reaction.
So yeah, anyways, he says, I come to give you information to let you know that while my protections over your kingdom have lapsed, I have not left your side. I'm not going to come every time you call. As you can imagine, I'm a very busy boy.
Put it away. Nope, zip it up, put it away.
I have to go back to Joe Dirt. You're my sister. You're my sister.
My God.
If you've never seen the movie,
Moving on.
Seen the movie, it's a weird.
Moving on.
So, moving on. You guys say anything?
Understandable.
I dare say that.
The fact that you'd still, come at all now that you have ascended is a great testament.
Objectively, the best god.
You would see one Grishka actually. He kind of chuckle at that. Just wouldn't say anything else, but he kind of laughed.
Yeah. Momeg gives like a little bit of a curl of the edge of his lip, smile. He thinks it's funny.
Making a god smile, Neil. Jeez.
That funny.
Well, it's funny because it's like it's obviously over the top fake brown nosing. You know what I mean? Which is the joke. So he just finds it funny. So, anyways, he says, you, whichever way the chest happens to be utilized, understands that it'll always have your interests in mind, even if it might not necessarily seem that way immediately. But again, prior to my arriving here, an understanding was reached. You may pull from the chest supplies to aid them. They need it.
You said something about reaching too greedily. If we reach with the aim of obtaining things for others, does that affect?
If you pull from the chest too often, whether it be for yourself or someone else.
Fair enough.
Gentlemen, I'm about to take my leave for some time.
May I ask one question before you go?
Knots?
Now that you have taken your place, a lot of your memories and you have the ability to see and understand a lot more than you had before, correct?
Divine intuition.
Well, I am going to have Elliot and Hansa actually look into it when we have time, but it would appear that I can't hold on to a weapon. And I was wondering if you could tell me anything about that metal. I have had terrible guidance on it, and I just wondered if you had any knowledge on what it is, and whether I should just throw it in the river.
I wouldn't throw it in the river. I will leave this as your last boon, this knowledge that you seek. That is Hellfire Steel. Steel is unfortunately a double entendre in this situation. For not only is it steel that one uses to forge a weapon, but it also steals the soul of the individual that is killed with it. As opposed to the soul going to the resting place where it deserves to, where it belongs, it sends them to the hells, to the ownership of whomever it was that forged it. I don't mean its current form. It's malleable, meant to be so that it can pass through the hands of one owner and the next over the course of eons. But the ownership of the demon or devil that had it forged.
Is there a safe way to get rid of it?
There are no simple mortal means of destroying such things. It requires powerful magics. It requires great blessings. Or, well, if you can draw the blood of he who created it, or she, that would actually break the curse on the blade. Unfortunately, I do not know who crafted that. They are not of this world, and so they are able to currently obfuscate that knowledge from me.
One of our crafters believes they can reforge the blade. If they did this, do they by proxy become a creator as well?
That's simply utilizing its malleability. That's just reshaping it for the new wielder of the weapon, not the initial forger, not the one who crafted the actual alloy that was used to make its current form. My suggestion is, until you find a means to destroy it that is attainable by those that rule Valoran should keep it inside of its vault. I imagine you will be crafting one sometime in the near future for such artifacts to be held in, whether they be of personal significance or, well, dangerous significance.
Thank you. I think we should do just that. I knew it was... I had a feeling there was something off with it. But now you have opened my eyes to the real danger.
As the tail end of this final boon, I would say that was delivered to you. Gentlemen, may peace find its way to your kingdom, and may you hold it for generations to come.
Stay safe, my friend.
He nods, says, likewise, but also be mindful that nothing lasts forever. And with that, you can actually see a slight darkening now that you're actually looking at him as he turns into that, again, obfuscated kind of look as he turns into effectively a shadow and dissipates, leaves this world as he kind of steps out of it. You, of course, do have that chest in your hands, the representative one.
We should do as he says and open this. See what is there to help these people.
I suppose so.
When you guys open when you guys bring your attention to the chest, it appears on the ground as it always does. And as you bring your attention to it,
the entire skiff just goes.
As you bring your attention to it, turn towards like you intend to open it, it opens on its own as it always does. But unlike before, where it was filled with stuff, I don't remember if you guys looked into this or if there's a different campaign that looked into it before and seen a similar thing. But what you happen to see inside there is there's a swirl of liquid, I guess, that happens to be there. It's about half white light in color and about half dark or black like a deep shadowy color that's inside there. The two liquids that are in there are ever churning and moving, seemingly in a non-patterned way, as they kind of like break apart into a whole bunch of almost like polka dotted versions of themselves, like swirls of themselves, moving around and pooling. And it seems like always the dark is trying to pull itself together, and always the light is trying to pull itself together. But they're constantly almost like feuding against each other to stop each other from coming together, while at the same time always trying to pull themselves together. It makes a swirling mess in front of you. Occasionally you'll actually see it does like a pretty even split, even if it's not like left and right or top and bottom, but a pretty even split of like, no, the white is actually pretty uniform over here, and the black is actually pretty uniform over here, but that lasts for half a second at most, and then it kind of like starts swirling into each other or whatever. You don't know what these are, you don't know what this is, but you do know that it is said that you can pull from it something that you might need. Something that's always meant to be beneficial and not to be too greedy. And you were told that you might be able to pull from it now, or you will be able to pull from it now. Something to aid these people. Neil, short version, Forvin, utterly devastated. Most of the people have either run away or been murdered. Almost nobody's even on the land anymore, hiding inside buildings from the number of undead that are there. Almost all of them are on boats, dying of malnutrition because all they're eating is fish. And so they're like begging you guys as you're passing by in your little skiff if you have any supplies for them. This is when, you know, kind of like that night while you were sleeping is when what's his name showed up and you saw the rest.
Worth a shot then.
I'll try and pull from it.
Oh, I just realized what you said because you said it so quietly. I'll try to pull from it. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so you reach into the
Reach for a bright coloured spot. That's representative of mercy.
Do me a favor. Roll me what's the word I'm looking for? D100, please. So when you reach in, this is specifically Jake reaching in. When you reach in, you actually do pull from a light-colored spot. When you reach in, what you happen to pull out is a cornucopia, full of cornucopia. I'm make sure I'm saying the right thing, right? Full of like fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And it's one of those fun things where you're like, well, it's actually a decent-sized basket that you pull from it. It's like one of those tuck a part of it underneath, like forearm, crook of the elbow, lift with the other side, almost like you're pulling out like a tuba or something like that, right? So you actually pull this thing out and it has a lot of food in it. And you're like, oh, this is crazy. And I imagine Ray almost curiously would reach in and pull out an apple. And that's because it's a delicious looking apple. Reach in and pull an apple from the cornucopia that's there. And as he pulls out the apple, the food happens to shift down a little bit. And another apple takes the place up above. And it's kind of like, oh, that's strange. You pull like another vegetable, maybe like a leek or whatever it is. And every time you seem to pull from it, this thing seems to have more drops down from above. Like it always seems to have more food replacing what was taken, but not like filling the exact spot it came from. Just everything just seems to like tumble out or shift out into place. Like if you're that guy at the grocery store that takes like the wrong cabbage and all of them roll a little, except they don't fall on the floor and have you walk away like nothing happened. Yeah, Tesh, I watch you at the grocery store. I'm disappointed.
You were quick because I was about to say not all of us are American, Scott. You beat me to it though. Well done.
Should we hand this out then?
What was it? So yeah, there you go. That's you, Neil.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not just hoard the food. I mean, there's an amount of food there. We could give each person something to eat, can't we?
Mm-hmm. So we do it.
Now help the people, you monsters.
And now we break the bread and feed the masses.
You get food and you get food.
while we float upon the water surface.
So you use that, and you can more or less give to them their. You can offer it to the people. Would you just give it to the random food to the boats as you pass them? Would you pass off this cornucopia to one of the boats to kind of like look after? How would you handle this?
Say we leave one of our guards behind to distribute.
Do we really want to abandon a guard?
And
if one would volunteer, but we just want to make sure we want to give this to someone so we can carry on our way, but we want to make sure it gets shared out fairly. I don't want to leave a guard who then gets shanked by someone who's trying to take 3 apples, you know.
We come back and there's a river lord.
I am the river lord.
That's what I'm thinking.
Huge jowls. I ate all of the apples, and so I am king on the river.
Is there anyone that's taken, like, as we start to distribute, is there anyone that's taken like a leadership kind of position at all? Anyone that is looked up to or anything like that?
Everybody is me, mine. We have starving children here. No, we have the sick and the dying. No, we have... Everybody's just trying to take for themselves. These people, unfortunately, came from a community that was very aggressive against one another at all points in time, that crumbled so quickly, they were never able to formulate a backup.
You know what, should we just take the time and just hand it out ourselves?
You got time.
I figured we definitely should do that. Yeah,
let's do it. Let's do it. We'll hand it out ourselves. We'll skip through the whole business. If anyone tries to mess around, drown them.
The meeting of my character is real world rush, not in world rush.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
We got plenty of time.
I have no idea whose phone number that is. Oh, I do know whose phone number that is. That was a reminder I have to bring my dog to her doctor's appointment tomorrow. So I was able to turn 3 dog appointments into 1. That was nice. They're like, do you mind just getting this all done at once? I mean, I feel bad for the dog, but that way we only have to have you come to the building once. I was like, well, at least she's not too old. We'll give her too many needles at once. We'll hope it works out. But so,
my cat doesn't mind vaccinations. She's a real champ.
I don't know. My place, the vet that we use, they actually allow you to just drop them off in the morning and pick them up later on, so they can kind of get to them as needed, as opposed to just like sitting there and waiting for like.
So you mean they sit there all day on their own without their loved humans crying?
The people there are pretty nice. I mean, they're the ones that detected and cured her cancer, so I give them my trust.
I mean, that's not my criteria for someone being nice. It's like they just walk up to you and go, "Oh boy, you seem nice."
So moving on. Neil just walks up to people and sniffs them. That's how he knows if they're nice or not. I actually had to
I'm still not sure about Scott.
I actually had to send him my scent. He asked for multiple samples from multiple origins. So anyways,
Tesh's face. That was great. Tesh there was a look of I'm fine.
You guys spend, just to make sure you hit every boat on the lake, and you do so like trying to make sure you do so as efficiently as possible. You end up spending a solid 4 days down here, trying to make sure that everything is taken care of, trying to make sure that all of your boats are approached. And it's literally when you get to the last boat, the last one, and as you're filling up, and I'm no small amount, we're talking like a crate full of food, enough to make the people, if they're smart about it, if they ration their food, each boat can probably survive another week or 2, depending on however many people are actually on it or whatever. On this food, eating good, eating decent, rationing the food. If they really scarce it out, they can last even longer. But that's all the aid that you can provide them. As you're helping out that last boat, it's one of those things where you're like literally grabbing out the stuff and putting it in. So you don't even realize it until you're literally down to the last couple of pieces. You start like reaching and putting into the bucket, and then you're like, uh-oh. And you grab like the last 5 or 6 pieces of fruit and vegetable out of there. and then you're holding in your hand an empty cornucopia. It's just the.
It was exactly enough.
Okay. Put the empty cornucopia down.
I guess we pop it back in the chest. Say thanks. Itadakimasu.
You go put it back in the chest. Okay. And so you open up the chest, you kind of push it back in there. Do me a favor when you push it back in there. Roll me a D100, and then we. What I'll say is while you're rolling that, everybody here is super appreciative of everything that you did. Obviously, they know your name because you've made sure they were aware that you're from Valorant, so on and so forth, and that's something that's going to stick with them. Obviously, you're just a tiny skiff. You can't do much. But you provided every bit of aid that you could, which is provide food for every ship that's out here, for all the remaining people. That's a good thing. Still waiting for Neil to roll that D100. He's as slow with dice as he is with speaking. At the end of...
I've got to ponder the repercussions of it, you know?
At the end of the... just to be clear, you put it back inside the white side of the chest. So, at the end of what you're doing there, the lake, as you made your way around the lake and aiding all the people you can, them coming to you and whatnot, you're finally able to come to where the river's entrance is on the other side. You can see that where that river's entrance is on the other side, there's a small little docking town that's right at the mouth of where the river meets the lake. There's a tiny little mouth that's there. Sorry, right at the mouth, there's a tiny little town that's there, a village that's there, with a small dock, something that easily could land maybe, I guess, 2 boats or whatever on it. But even just from your boat, looking at it, that place is empty. It's completely deserted. If there were survivors, they've left. But judging by the bodies on the ground that have been rotting for some time, maybe months, no. They're gone. Moving on from there. You guys eventually make your way up the stream and finally to Harrod. It's actually genuinely nice when you get to Harrod. Because for the first time in a while, you see a place where people are out and about. Where they're in the streets trading goods with one another. There's active guards walking around. Actually, the docks where you are, there are a decent number of guards at the docks themselves. Specifically, there are 8 guards at the docks themselves. Their uniforms look very familiar to you, Neil. These are the militiamen of Harrod. And so as your boat arrives, you could, of course, see them. As your boat arrives, we pull the camera from you, not just in space, but also in time, to someone else.
That's the camera getting pulled in space and time, by the way. That was the fun.
Can we get like a 3-second clip of just Neil doing that?
It doesn't let you clip that short. I wish you could.
How short does it allow?
I don't know.
Me leading it up, him doing that, and him saying that is the camera pulling in space and time. That's all we need. No more than that, if possible. Anyways, so you guys are now I can think of as Neil on the toilet doing that. It's my bowels traveling through space and time. So you you came stumbling into Harrod some time ago, and one of the first things that you noticed when you got here, because you hadn't seen really any undead that you had heard the rumors about. You hadn't really seen any yet, but then you come stumbling into the town of Harrod. Cover of night, maybe it's just fortune. Whatever it is that was guiding your legs, guiding your path, you're able to find your way here. No.
If I ran into something in the field that I thought was a person, if I remember right.
Oh, my apologies. Take it back a step.
Yeah.
You because it was daytime. So that's right. So it was daytime. You actually taking it back a step. You coming into Harrod. Ignore that. You coming into Harrod. You actually saw the person, and then you realized, oh shit, this isn't a person. You, of course, have no understanding of what it is that you can do. You have no understanding of what it is that you've become. That person that's not a person comes at you aggressively. You have no weapon in hand, really. You simply have your faith and your club that you had from before.
I think he probably would have
Don't
dropped
have a weapon in hand.
I don't
has
think
a
he
club.
has the club. Like, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have the club anymore. So I might as well remove that.
You would find your you would see this thing coming at you, and of course you would do what you can to run from it. In doing so, you would actually notice that others would kind of it would get their attention, and they would come to you as well. It wouldn't take much time of running before you'd find yourself over to a few guards. Guards that were, well, unfortunately, not sure of who or what you were at first as well, and so would have handled you very aggressively because you're, of course, a little delusional, a little crazed, and you're
burnt clothes, torn up, wearing coat around arms at the moment. At the moment, he's wearing coat, his ripped up coat around his arms. So yeah, just whoa. What are those things?
And when you finally are able to kind of like communicate with them, they realize that you're not one of them. And they would, at that point, kind of form a bit of a defense, giving you some degree of aid. Unfortunately, you didn't realize this, but you had been attracting some from behind you on your trek even before you came across that first one.
Oh, no.
And you attract more as you ran across the fields with fear. The number of guards that happened to be here at the moment was 3. The number of them, more. And things don't go well. Unfortunately, your first situation with this, you would watch more than a horrific scene as these guards are kind of ripped and torn and destroyed before you. Your reaction to it, of course, is to run. Not that your character is a wimp by any stretch, but how would a normal person handle this? And so you'd flee back even further until you eventually get to the town. And then you would eventually get to where there's a lot more guard stations. You'd give them a warning, and they would kind of like pull up the militia. They would pull up the number of people. They would actually gather them together to start warding against the oncoming zombies. Who you are, your interest to them is non-existent. They don't care. You're an injured person coming here seeking refuge. Cool, you're welcome. Come in. We have a problem to take care of. What happens that evening is horrifying. You hear the screams in the night. You hear the battle waging on. It weighs heavily on your heart. You know that this is not right. That these people have, even if they survive this night, will they the next? The one after that? There needs to be some sort of mercy for them. There needs to be some sort of forgiveness that can be given to these people who are just trying to survive. Honestly, you don't even know if you want to. You don't even know if you belong here. And it's your fear, it's your trek that led them here. You have guilt that weighs in your heart and your mind as you are bearing witness to what's going on out in the night. So of course your character makes the hard decision. He needs to, at least in any way possible, provide a degree of aid to those soldiers. That night, you choose to join them. You're no warrior. You don't know your way around a weapon beyond the basic training that you received as a young parent in Paradel and whatnot, but you were able to circumvent most of that anyways, because you're a borner. Anyways, so you choose to aid them. Doesn't take long for the undead to rip through their lines and for you to find yourself on the front lines, not because you put yourself there, but because it found its way to you. What happens that night leads to the name, the Hero of Herod. The craziest part of it is you don't even remember all the details. You just remember that warm glow quelling down that fire that burns within. You just remember that there is something there that beckons to rip forth from you. And in your moment of desperation, you let it. Not only did they survive that night, they did survive the next one, and the one after that, and the one after that as well. As a matter of fact, it's almost like a beacon in the dark of night. It's almost like a shimmer of hope in their darkest time. You were able to provide enough protection to these people with this ability you seem to have that they can't return to a normal life. But they've been able to be a bit more bold, form up a bit more of a strength to themselves and between each other. The captain of the guard has extended a kindness to you, and you've even grown friendly with him. The thing is, would he actually be honest enough with everybody that he doesn't know how or why it is that he's able to do this? All he knows is that each night that things go wrong, which isn't every day, but occasionally, he just puts himself into situations where desperation rips forward from him and allows that, we'll call it, flame to be ignited and to, resolve all those around? Or does he keep that to himself?
I think he probably wouldn't. He wouldn't lie about it, but he wouldn't admit that he has no idea what's going on. Like, he would. It's like lie by omission. He wouldn't bring it up. Just sort of accepting the like he can help. All he knows at this stage is he needs to put himself in harm's way, and then he helps. Not quite sure how or why, but he can do it. He can keep doing it, so he's going to keep doing it.
So, and like you said, he does that. Probably doesn't even bring any guards with him. Probably just goes out there himself.
No, I imagine like there's like a point where he realizes if he's really in danger, he almost gets a sort of protection over him that allows him to wade into the zombies, at least a little ways. And so once he learns that, he starts trying to go on his own, trying to put himself in more danger, into the lure bigger crowds into an area, that sort of thing.
The captain of the guard here has actually never been named. He was never been a named NPC, despite he being on camera with Neil in the past and with patrons before. I don't think I ever came up with a name for him before. So I need a name for him. Why don't we go with Jack? Because Jack of Bates.
Captain Jack.
Captain Jack.
I approve.
Anyways, yeah, so Captain Jack would actually be a friend of yours. So, as we've said, you've gained the title, the Hero of Harrod, and Harrod seems to be the one beacon. Now, have there been people to come and request your aid over in places like Hod Gwen? There, in fact, have been people to come and be like, we've heard of the Hero of Harrod. We're just wondering if we can please borrow his aid in Hod Gwen. Captain Jack is a good person. He's actually genuinely a decent person. However, he's actually a little bitter about what happened with Hod Gwen during the war recently. He's informed you of the tactics that they've used. The starvation, technically, of water. So, dehydration of its people. The forced vassalage. The fact that their militia had to kill and force in their name just to keep their families safe. Not safe from the incoming army, who they gladly would have been like, sure, pass through. But also, they've also informed you of pretty much everything else that has transpired here and there and so on. So he would never tell you what to do, but he would suggest that you stay with Hod Gwen and lend aid to them. Because, stay in Harrod and lend aid to them.
Yeah.
Because Hod Gwen hasn't really earned the mercy of that. What he says is a bit aggressive, but it's not necessarily untrue either. I imagine your character maybe to some degree thinks of the people, but To what degree does he think of the people? What about your background?
So, Ilan would he'd be in that sort of torn position, but he's also terrified because he doesn't understand how this works. And with everything that's happened, he's barely managing as is. And so the idea of adding an extra change to that, he doesn't know if he's ready for it yet. So he's using what Jack says as an excuse not to.
So he and so you're able to stay here in Harrod, where you get in these scuffles from time to time, small amounts here and there. Your time with Jack, actually, he's actually a really good teacher. It's surprising because he doesn't have a ton of military experience. He's just been a militiaman for a long time.
We should describe Ilan for the sake of the stream.
I'm going to in a second.
Okay, yep, go.
So he's a militiaman, but he's actually a surprisingly good teacher. One of the things that you notice is that occasionally he will offer to spar with you and to kind of like train with you, get to know one another better, could blow off steam, angry because unfortunately this happened there or whatever there, so on and so forth. And occasionally you'll be able to pick up a weapon, and he's able to teach you competence with a blade relatively quickly because your character is keen. And again, he's a good teacher. Despite the competence he's able to teach you, despite the fact that he's able to train you to be proficient with it, you are unfortunately just not a man at arms. You're unfortunately somebody that just is not very capable of melee combat.
Yeah, he struggles to hold anything heavy. He while his hands would be bound from the shoulder all the way to his hands, his hands do look pretty scrawny for his size, and he can't hold a weapon even if he tries.
We're going to have the party coming in during one such training session in a moment. But why don't you describe... actually, we'll hold off on that for a second.
Yep.
Well, Jake is gone, so...
Should we roll a break now?
Oh, yeah, we can do a break real quick. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
This is a great idea. Cool. We'll do a break. When we come back, we'll have the party conjoin. Be right back, everyone. Thank you. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.